And now I'd like to introduce to you Chris Candelier, a GCA alumnus, GCA class of 2022, and he goes to Farmingdale State College in Farmingdale, New York, currently a sophomore majoring in aviation administration, and he aspires to work in airport operations or work for a major airline. And here's Chris Candelier.
Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Chris Candelier, and I attended Grace Christian Academy from 2018 to 2022, and now I'm attending Farmingdale State College in Farmingdale, New York. Growing up, my parents always had me in a Christian education system, for which I am very thankful. I went to 3 private Christian schools throughout elementary and was homeschooled my middle school years, which I especially enjoyed because I was able to wake up whenever I wanted. But as I got older, into my early teen years, and my parents saw my rebellious ways and saw my need for better structure, they felt it was best to send me back to school for high school. The only school they considered at the time was Grace Christian Academy, and that's where they would end up sending me. I didn't know what to expect going into GCA, but little did I know that my time at the school would end up being one of the most influential chapters of my life thus far. If I could define GCA in one phrase, it would be this: built different. You've probably heard that phrase if you're a parent of a teenager or maybe a middle school or high school teacher, but I think that's a fitting description because GCA stands out from a lot of other schools out there, and I want to give a few brief examples of things that stood out about GCA from my personal experience. First, GCA provided me with unique education. If you know GCA, you know that the school emphasizes classical Christian education. So in just that definition alone, you can already tell GCA teaches differently, and I experienced that firsthand. But practically speaking, GCA taught me how to think clearly, reason well, read thoroughly, and write eloquently, along with many other skills. I was taught by amazing teachers who love to educate their students, and what I'm most thankful for is the fact that they taught me through a biblical perspective, through which there was a humble recognition that God was the creator and designer of every subject matter we came across. Second, GCA gave me a personal experience. I say personal experience because never once during my time at GCA did I feel like a mere student and nothing else. In fact, it was the complete opposite. Thanks to GCA's smaller number of students and faculty members, which was actually my favorite part about GCA, I was able to cultivate meaningful friendships and connections with fellow students as well as teachers, which I'm so thankful for because I know that in larger schools, kids don't necessarily get that experience. For comparison's sake, I asked my mom, who went to Cardozo High School in Queens, how many students there were in her graduating class. She said over 1,000 students were in her graduating class, let alone the other thousands of students in the school. My graduating class had 8 students. She told me her graduation took almost 3 hours. My class graduation took 30 minutes, and we were out of there. It was amazing. But in all seriousness, being in a small school really influenced me in a positive way. Just being able to endure the horrors of high school with my closest friends and learn from teachers who really cared for us was so huge for me personally, and I give God ultimate thanks for putting me in quite literally the best academic position I could have ever been put in. Third, GCA prepared me for college. I realize how blessed I am to have received education at GCA when I look at some of my peers at college, because when I do, to say the least, there's certainly a sense that they weren't nearly as prepared for college as I was because of GCA's influence. You can clearly see that some of the public schools that some of these students went to failed them because they struggle with even the most elementary stuff, like defining what a thesis is or even reading a small book. And it's not that these students don't try, they do, they just weren't taught the right way. GCA, on the other hand, not only taught me the right way, but did so in such an extraordinary way that I've been able to do well in college even through the challenges it brings. GCA is basically like a pre-college, and because of that, college just feels like GCA 2.0. I'm so thankful that GCA prepared me so well for college. It might have been a lot of work, but it was 100% worth it. Fourth and finally, GCA instilled the gospel everywhere. and this is what I think the most important part of the school was. From physics to phys ed and everything in between, the main objective above all objectives that I saw from GCA, my time at GCA, was to instill the gospel in everything. And that was the most important part of the school for me. Being well educated and learning a lot is great, but knowledge apart from God is worthless in the eternal scheme of things. That's why I consider it such a privilege and honor to have been educated at GCA, because every teacher and every staff member emphasize the fact that true knowledge and wisdom comes from the Lord, and it's only through him that we can obtain such things. I give all thanks and praise to God for his faithfulness to Grace Christian Academy. I'm so blessed to have had such a beneficial experience, all made possible by the diligent service from people like Mr. Schultz and countless other teachers and supporters throughout the years. And I pray and trust that God will continue to use GCA in great and mighty ways to help current and future students, just as GCA helped me. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a great night.